See this here? It's quite strong, really strong stainless steel. So this can go on uneven ground. It can even chip the tops of rocks. So you can see what's even settling on the ground. Unlike the grab, which you mightn't be able to grab there, or some of the trawls where the ground has to be fairly even and can rip the nets, this can go on a lot more different types of surfaces, even to test it out. You can see here the first mesh size. There's two different mesh sizes, and the first size is 2mm and the next is 5. It has a protective covering, which can be just even a simple carpet that protects the nets from rocks. So when it's going over and breaking the tops of rocks, your net is protected. All your material will be gathered in the end. This is tied here, and they'll simply pull it open and put it into your box that you can sort out your sample. And that's sieved through a 2mm sieve. No point obviously going smaller, considering the first mesh size you have in there is 2. They lift this up and they'll drop it down, but they need to leave it to go slack. If they just dropped it to hit the bottom like the grab, it wouldn't roll across the bottom to grab. So you need to leave about 2.5 times the depth. So they'll know the depth, they'll put it up and they'll leave that amount of rope down, and once it goes slack, then they'll put it along for a certain distance. Usually you'd only tow it for maybe 5, and you tow against the current. You tow quite slowly, 2.5 knots maybe, and when you've done your 5 minutes, then they'll pull it up. You take your lats and longs the minute it's gone slack at the bottom. Once they've dropped the dredge and they've dropped the 2.5 times the depth, you take your lats and longs. And the minute they start to pull it up, you take your lats and longs. And there you have semi-quantitative. This now will give you more idea of the different type of animals, the more mobile animals that you wouldn't catch in the grab. You get the animals like crabs, and you get big starfish, things that can move out of the way. It gives you more idea of the flora and fauna in the expanse of the habitat that you're looking at. Okay, so this data, along with the grab, gives you a lot more information on what you're surveying. In some of the surveys, what they'll say is you do 3 replicates and 3 5-minute tows in an area. But it's a much broader area, yeah. Whereas the grab would be pretty much quite close together. This could be within a bigger diameter of area that you would do your... It's French, it's a Rallier-du-baty. Yeah. There's a different type of square dredge which is normally used, there's one just over there that I'll show you that's twice as wide as it is depth. But that can fade, that can topple. Whereas even if this turns, it's still dredging. It's a little bit of trouble with this one in that it gets caught in the mud quite a lot. But it has a safety release valve there if it gets stuck, it has a weak link that'll snap, so they'll be able to retrieve it. Always important if you get something stuck that you have a weak link that you can bring your gear back up to safety, fix it and maybe go and dredge again. It's semi-quantitative because you know when you put it down, you know it's going for 5 minutes at 2.5, so you know the distance is covered, so you can calculate the area. This, the MI love, and they brought it in for monitoring all their sites, so now this is the one to use, even though a lot of Europe have stopped using it. Yeah. Do you know what we're going to do? We're going to take this sample and sieve it, because you're kind of cheating, because you've nothing to sieve. Do you remember how to preserve? Do you remember what you preserve benthic samples in? Yeah, in formalin in percentage. 10% formalin, 5% formaldehyde. But it's actually 4%, but if you're diluting it on board, it's much easier to convert into 5% than it is 4, but roughly. And you dilute it with seawater, because remember all your animals are living in seawater. If you dilute it with fresh water, they're going to contort, it's going to be harder to identify them. So basically, when you're pouring it in, you want to be downwind of it. Tell you. One of the things you can do with the dredge as well, if you pull it up like this, what we often do is put it back in the water and tow it for another 10 minutes, because you're going to be half the day trying to wash this. But that's lucky because it's on a 2mm sieve, so it's a bit better. That one is half as deep as it is wide. Semi-quantitative. It's semi-quantitative in that, right, you know where you've dropped it. You need to drop it similar to the beam trawl, 2.5 times its depth, so that you make sure it's been dragged along the bottom. Have you a shovel?
Yeah.
Oh, shovel half it out then. See the way they're cleaning it? We would just leave it there and go on to the next station and pull it out at the next station.